Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Boob Talk with your host, Cynthia Rogers. It's Season 3. Come and join the Boob Talk family as we discuss the issues breast cancer and other cancer survivors face. Come along on our journey. We are survivors. Welcome to Boob Talk. I'm your host, Cynthia Rogers. Thank you for joining me this evening. Tonight, we have a special Survivor Spotlight. It's time for Survivor Spotlight, shining the light on the courage, hope, and faith of a survivor's journey. Our special guest tonight is Robin Tout, breast cancer survivor and co-founder of Global Patient Advocacy Coalition. Robin, welcome to Boob Talk.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We are so glad to have you. And as I just mentioned in my introduction, you are the co-founder of Global Patient Advocacy Coalition. So, Robin, can you tell us what is the coalition and what advocacy work are you doing?
Thanks. We are GPAC, the Global Patient Advocacy Coalition, and you can find us on our website at gpacunited.org. And we started, Terry and I are both co-founders, and we started it as a way to advocate and connect with basically patient advocates around the globe that are kind of going through the same journey that we are, and they're trying to advocate in the regions and locations where they're at. So we thought we'd be stronger together, so we wanted to kind of bond together and connect and collaborate so that we can work with not only our plastic surgeon societies, but our governing agencies that oversee medical devices, and just kind of work on sitting down at the same table and solving problems together and just getting awareness out there into the community. And that's just kind of how we started, and it's snowballing into a bunch of other projects that we're working on, so we're keeping very busy.
So what actually is the kind of awareness that you're trying to reach or send a message about? You said, you were, doing this because of your own journey. So could you tell us more about that?
Sure. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017, and my surgeon basically just presented me with some reconstruction options, and I felt that choosing breast implants was the easiest option that was presented to me. So I had reconstruction, and I wasn't given proper informed consent. My doctors did not inform me that breast implants can make women sick, and I didn't have any other cancer treatment, so I wasn't understanding why I felt really ill, but what could be the cause of it. So when I found out about breast implant illness, of course, it made sense because I didn't have chemotherapy or radiation. And I actually had my implants removed after 4 months, and all of my symptoms went away. I mean, mine started right away with headaches and migraines, skin rashes, anxiety, insomnia, joint pain. I was very weak and tired and extremely fatigued. And that just wasn't me or my personality. I'm usually very energetic. I'm very on the go. So it was really frustrating for me to be so sick and not know the reason why. I had gone back to my surgeon and asked her questions, and, she kind of prescribed a bunch of pills for me for my pain and my sleeping problems, but nothing really worked, and I just wanted my life back, to be honest. So when I found out about breast implant illness, I had my implants removed, everything went away, and it kind of blew my mind. And what really bothered me the most, though, is that if this happened to me, how many other breast cancer patients was this happening to? So I decided to kind of jump into advocacy and start joining groups and just learning more about breast implant illness and the breast cancer patients and just see what I saw in those groups. It came as quite a shock to find out that the FDA was hiding over 446,000 reports of women that were harmed by breast implants. So to the general public, if you were to spend your spare time on the FDA website looking for answers, it looked like breast implants were generally safe. But when they're not disclosing those adverse event reports, it's really giving a different picture than what the reality is. So we've got a great group of advocates that's working all over the United States that kind of brought this to the forefront. And I think it made the FDA pay a little bit more attention of what's going on. So much so that we got an entire line of Allergan textured breast implants and tissue expanders banned, recalled worldwide. And we also got the FDA to issue a black box warning on all breast implants. So that's the strictest labeling that the FDA gives on dangerous and deadly devices and drugs on the market. So that was, really a good step forward in the right direction, because they're letting the medical community know and the general population know that breast implants can be dangerous. So, we're really pleased with the progress we're making. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And that's where GPAC comes in. We spend a lot of our time meeting on Zoom calls with the FDA. We've worked closely with the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, and just kind of sitting down at the same table and collaborating to discuss ways that we can, come up with solutions and better inform consent and just overall improve the standard of care.
Now, I have to admit, I am naive to all of this information. What exactly is breast implant illness, and what are the effects?
So breast implant illness is technically defined as like a constellation of symptoms that women experience as an adverse reaction to having breast implants, as a foreign object in their body. And I want to make your listeners aware that it's not just breast implants. We have patients in different advocacy groups that have had the same kind of reactions and symptoms caused by like mesh that's been used for repairing pelvic, repairs and hernia repairs. Women that have had birth control devices have had very similar reactions. So it's basically the body's autoimmune response to having a foreign object, and your body kind of just starts to fight it 24/7. And it's very taxing on the body, and eventually things start breaking down and you end up with this systemic illness. This has been going on for 60 years, ever since breast implants were put on the market. In fact, there was a 14-year ban on silicone breast implants back in the 90s because, tens of thousands
I remember
of
that, yes.
were sick. Yeah. So, it's the same story that's been going on for decades, but we're just really hoping that there's more awareness about it this time and some solutions as well.
So how did you even know that you had breast cancer? How did you find out?
I was a high-risk patient because I was a previous cancer survivor. I had my first cancer when I was diagnosed at age 23. So I had extensive radiation treatment, and because of that, I had a higher risk of getting secondary cancers. So my doctors have always watched me very closely and considered me to be in a high-risk category. So my breast cancer was caught on a routine mammogram and ultrasound, which I got my baseline mammogram at age 35, and then starting at 40, I would get mammograms and ultrasounds every year. And that's how my breast cancer was detected. So I was very lucky that I caught it early. I was stage 1. It hadn't metastasized throughout any other places in my body. So I was very fortunate to catch it early. And, I did make the decision to have a double mastectomy, even though that was a radical decision for the size tumor that I had. I was a 3-time cancer survivor at that point, and I just kind of wanted to be done as quickly and easily as possible. So that was kind of an easy choice for me to make when I was diagnosed.
May I ask, what other cancer did you have?
I had Hodgkin's lymphoma when I was 23. And then because I had such extensive radiation, where I had really bad radiation burns, I was diagnosed with basal cell carcinoma, which is a type of skin cancer. And I've only had those, pretty easily removed from my body, but it was interesting that they were located where I had the really bad radiation burns from my treatment. And then, of course, the breast cancer came in 2017.
Well, Robin, I just want to say I'm so glad you're here with us. You are definitely a survivor, and I just want to thank you for the work that you are doing to bring awareness to breast implant illness and to implants. I think this is a subject that definitely needs to be talked about. I think either for some reason it's just been taboo that nobody wants to talk about, implants that can make you sick, and it's like I had no idea the FDA was hiding all of these cases, for people that were having adverse reactions. So now that you're advocating and trying to work with the FDA and work with plastic surgeons, like, what has their reaction been to trying to bring awareness to this? Are they trying to push back and not take any responsibility, or, what are they saying?
It's interesting because when I started this 4 years ago, actually almost 5 years ago now, in 2017, the FDA wasn't really admitting any of this. So a lot of information has come out really about all of this in the last 4 years. So I feel like at first, one of the very biggest projects I started working on early on was legislation in my state of Arizona. And I had met with the Arizona Society of Plastic Surgeons, and I kind of felt like there was a little pushback there, like they felt this wasn't something that was necessary, and there wasn't really a whole lot of information about breast implant illness. But it really wasn't until the FDA, they held a private closed meeting in late 2018 that I attended. And, a group of us advocates got together and we kind of shared our stories and just threw out some ideas that we wanted the FDA to do to help solve these problems. So one of those things was we requested a public hearing, which we were given 6 months later in March of 2019. And that hearing brought forth a lot of information because we had doctors and patients and scientific researchers get up and testify that they've seen patients, they've done studies that show breast implants are making women sick. And MD Anderson released in late 2018 the largest study ever done on breast implants. And it showed that breast implants are associated with rare diseases, autoimmune disease, and cancer. So I think the FDA at that point knew they had to address these issues. I mean, this has been going on for 60 years, so it's not going to go away. These women have been joining these groups on social media, and they've become very loud. So I think it was kind of the push that they needed to get something done about it. So basically, after the FDA kind of admitted all of this was going on, it made our jobs a little bit easier. So when we went to the state capitol and kind of pitched passing this legislation for informed consent, honestly, our state legislators had the same reaction you did. They were just completely unaware that any of this was going on. So it was really beneficial for us to be able to bring that to our state legislators, to be able to present to them that this is a problem and that women need to be protected. I'm happy to say that in the state of Arizona, we were the first ones to pass this informed consent for breast implant surgery, and it passed through the Senate and the House unanimously. Not one single legislator in our state voted no on this law, which is huge. So
that's amazing.
So we're really excited. We're pursuing this legislation in multiple states this year, so we're excited about the outcomes that we're going to see, and just knowing that patients are now going to be protected and informed. So our goal isn't really to ban all breast implants from the market. It's just, we want people to be able to, just like smoking cigarettes. I think at this point in society, we all know that cigarettes can be dangerous and cause lung cancer, but there's still going to be people that make that informed and educated decision that they want to smoke cigarettes anyway.
Right.
So that's all that we're asking, is that present the public with the information, let medical doctors know that this is going on, and then, it's a win-win for everybody. One of the biggest challenges we're struggling with right now, the FDA has been pretty good in some aspects, but we have been asking since 2019. They had put out a Dear Healthcare Provider letter about the cancer that's caused by breast implants, and we've been asking them to do the same about breast implant illness. And I'll admit that in October 2021, they came out with a new announcement that's placing restrictions on manufacturers, that it's basically requiring manufacturers to give a patient checklist so that patients are aware of this information. But the plastic surgery community has really come around, and we've received less pushback from them because they know this is becoming a problem. Where we're really struggling is getting it out to the rest of the medical communities. Our women, when they become sick, they typically don't go back to their plastic surgeon. They go to a rheumatologist or a neurologist or a cardiologist because they might be having, allergy issues or headaches or, nerve pain and skin rashes. So they're seeing all these doctors in all different specialties, but those doctors aren't aware that any of this can happen. So what we're asking for is for the FDA to put out a provider letter telling all those specialties, if you have a patient that comes in and has unexplained illnesses or random symptoms that you just can't, you've done all the testing, the scans, the blood work, maybe ask them, do you have any implanted devices? Do you have breast implants or an IUD or mesh? Because all of these symptoms can be caused by products like that. So that's one thing we're really hoping to get over the finish line this year, is getting the FDA to send that letter out, because, we have limited amount of manpower and we can only go knock on so many doctors' doors to let them know. It would be really powerful if the FDA could just get that information out for us. So we're still working on that.
Well, it's wonderful work that you're doing, and just like you were just saying, how if you have a rash. So for all of our survivors out there, hey, if you have implants and you're having any of these symptoms, go to the root of the source. Start from the bottom and then work your way out. Because, like you said, you're not going to really think, hey, does this have anything to do with my implants? And that's just like with cancer in general. You have all of these side effects, and something that your doctor never told you that you could have side effects. Like I remember when I was going through chemo, I had neuropathy. Now I'm thinking like I'm losing my mind, and I kept telling my oncologist, I can't feel my hands or feet. Oh, I don't know I've never had a patient that dealt with that, sent me to neurology, doing scans and everything. And then if it wasn't for my breast cancer support group and other women saying, hey, I'm having neuropathy, then I said, wait a minute, this is a side effect of chemo. This is not, just some random occurrence or me making this up. And then I went back to my oncologist and said, look, I'm having these issues. And then he admitted to me, oh, well, yeah, it could be a side effect of the chemo. So you have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, go ahead. And I found it very interesting that you said you learned about it in your breast cancer support groups. We have gotten a lot of pushback from the plastic surgeon societies because, they're kind of mocking us, saying you shouldn't be getting medical advice from social media, right? But when you find a group of women who's been through the same diagnosis that you've been through, the same treatment that you've been through, and you start comparing notes, you realize that it's the patients who know the most, because they literally lived it firsthand. So it is a little bit disheartening to me that you had to learn that through social media, and I had to learn that through social media. I mean, I'm glad that we both found answers to our problems, but something's very broken in the medical world for patients to be getting more benefit from social media platforms than from their own doctors. And I think one of the biggest things I'd like to see change in the future is, I am seeing a shift in medical organizations that are willing to invite us in and collaborate with us to give our patients a voice. I think that's what's been missing. Because I'll be honest with you, before we had a voice and before we were going to these plastic surgery conventions and society meetings, they weren't hearing us. They were closed in their little medical world bubble, and then we were closed off in our patient bubble, and there was just no bridge to connect the two. So I love that that's what our organization is about, is finding those connections and, networking with the right people to sit down and tell them these are the problems that we're seeing. And at the end of the day, especially for cancer patients, I mean, I had an entire team of doctors when I was diagnosed. I had an oncologist, a breast surgeon, a plastic surgeon, a nutrition specialist. Nobody told me this could happen. My entire team of doctors failed me. And, that was really disheartening for me to feel that way. So I am happy for those organizations that are recognizing this, and they're trying to become more patient-centered to improve that standard of care. Because honestly, patients need to realize that we have the power and we drive the standard of care.
Yeah.
So if we increase what our expectations are and we let other patients know, hey, you know, you don't have to put up with this. You can go to your doctor and you can be an advocate for yourself. That's the most important thing. You know, I think sometimes I feel like I was treated just like a number, you know.
Oh, exactly.
This is what you do. You fit in this box. You were diagnosed with breast cancer.
Right.
You get this treatment, this pill, this chemo, this surgery. And then they just send you out the door, right?
Yes. I mean, unless they have actually gone through cancer themselves, they don't understand. And actually, the time that I was going through neuropathy, I literally ended up having a emotional outburst and breakdown with my doctor. Then for all of a sudden for him to say, okay, well, yes, this is a side effect, and then we'll take you off of the chemo drug that causes it. So, of course, obviously he knew, because he knew what drug to take me off of. So, but it wasn't until I actually burst into tears in his office that, you know, okay, I guess this really is the issue. Like, because for a while I thought, am I losing my mind? You know, and it's unfortunate that as a patient you already have to deal with cancer, and then for you to feel like you're not supported. Now, I'm not saying this for all doctors or oncologists or all, you know, medical teams that are, you know, supporting cancer survivors or patients, but, you know, some of them, it is like you just said, hey, like, this is their job. I'm here to do X, Y, and Z. You're here to take this, and this, and then move on to the next person. Like, you know, you're moving along cattle. So as you were saying, you know, you do have to speak up for yourself. And I, you know, tell survivors all the time, if, you know, you're taking something, you're feeling sick, hey, speak up. If your doctor doesn't hear you the first time, you go back. You know, don't give up on yourself, because a lot of times, like you just said, they're just looking at you as if you're a number.
Exactly. And, you know, it was interesting. I had a Zoom call earlier today with a surgery society. And, you know, we were talking about how every patient and what their choices are should be supported, but there's such a vast difference of what people's needs are. You know, for me, when I was diagnosed, at the time I had 2 teenage boys that I was keeping up with, and, you know, I was a 3-time cancer survivor. So I kind of had the attitude, like, been there, done that. What's the easiest way for me to get on with my life, right? I just wanted my life back. And, you know, my kids were teenagers, so I only had a few years left with them before they left the house and started their own lives. And I kept thinking, what do I want that time to look like? You know, I know women that have gone through anywhere from 17 to 25 surgeries for reconstruction. And for me, for the point of life that I was at, I wasn't willing to go through that, because that would make me miss out on the fun things that I wanted to do, to be active with my family. I mean, we like to go boating and fishing and golfing and skiing, and, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do those things. So I think sometimes if I could just ask, if I had a wish list, you know, if I could ask surgeons just to really get to know your patient and what their wants and needs are in life. Some women love to exercise and be very active, and a lot of times some of these intense reconstruction procedures limit their range of motion. So, you know, I think we all need to be sensitive to what everyone's individual needs are, and it's not a one-size-fits-all where everyone fits in the same box. It's a very individualized diagnosis, and I would just, you know, like to see doctors just kind of branch out a little bit and listen to their patients about not necessarily what the norm is or what's expected, because there's a lot of patients now who are choosing not to do reconstruction. You know, they maybe don't want the chemicals that are in breast implants. They don't want that in their body. Or, like I said, they're very active and they don't want to limit their range of motion because maybe they run marathons, or they're into, you know, they're on a rowing team or something, horseback riding, you name it. So I think it's important for doctors to really do, you know, a detailed intake on what their patient's lifestyle is like and what they want it to look like. You know, some women are very attached to their breasts being, you know, part of what makes them a woman, and that's their identity. And some aren't. They're like, you know, I just want to go on with my life. That was kind of where I was at. So I just appreciate every woman's perspective, and I respect every woman's, choice and their needs. And I just hope that the doctors understand how important that is, because it should be very individualized, in my opinion.
Yes, definitely. And I've been saying, I don't know if this is just something that's been happening the last couple of years, but it seems to me like there's this whole going flat like movement. I've, been seeing it on Instagram, a lot of women showing pictures of themselves, topless
Yes.
and proud of it. And I was like, oh, good for them that they don't have to feel ashamed. And I think that's a whole another issue, the fact that some women feel that they have to, like you said, get implants because they feel like it's a part of them. It feels like it's going to make them a woman. But like the last couple of years, I've been seeing women that I see the heading going flat, and they're topless, and hey, I'm alive. That's all they care about. And I wanted to ask you, like you were just talking about, emotionally, how did you handle all of this? Just from actually being diagnosed with another cancer, and then putting the implants in, getting the illness. So, just how did you maintain your mental health?
That's such an interesting question, because I think for me, because I was so sick, before I got the implants, I felt great when I had breast cancer. I was walking 5 to 7 miles a day. I was keeping up with my teenage boys. I was very active and fit. And, I went from that to I couldn't even walk around the block. I couldn't even walk to my mailbox. I called my husband crying one time. I was less than an eighth of a mile from my house, which is nothing for someone who walks 5 to 7 miles a day. And I was crying, and I said, you need to come pick me up. I just couldn't take one more step. So for me, that was more mentally challenging, to not be able to do what my mind and my psyche and my spirit wanted to do, and what I was used to doing, because I was ill. I had no idea at the time why I was ill. It was just frustrating to me. I just thought it was part of the whole breast cancer experience. And wow, breast cancer really sucks.
Right. Yeah.
But then,
that too.
Yeah. And it
I
does,
felt like
right?
that when I was going through chemo.
Exactly. But I had no idea that the implants could do that. And, I've actually had women who, like me, got sick. They took their implants out, and I can't tell you how many breast cancer patients have told me, I'd rather do chemo again than go through BII.
Oh, wow.
And I've never done chemo, but I'll tell you what, I don't know anyone who thought chemo was fun. I mean, it's no joke. But that's a very powerful statement for them to say that chemo is easier than going through BII.
Oh, my goodness.
So I really like seeing that. Not that I think every woman needs to go flat, but I love the women that are out there, and they are campaigning for this, because it is a beautiful choice. You can get absolutely stunning surgical results, if your doctor listens to what it is that you want. And then you have that freedom. It's such a feeling of empowerment and freedom. And I think that's what you see when you see these women who are just posting it on social media, and they're so proud. It's because they either overcame BII, or they just made the choice, like, I don't need to conform to society. I can do whatever I want, and that's a very empowering feeling as a woman. So I'm really happy to see those ladies out there doing such a great job raising awareness, because I think, like you said, sometimes maybe there was a feeling of shame, or, the doctors almost make us feel like we're going to be disfigured. And, that's hard mentally for people to wrap their brain around. But I've seen beautiful aesthetic flat closure results. And, that's really what we want to talk to the societies about is, don't leave any extra skin, make it smooth and flat. So that you
I wanted to ask you about that. Yes.
Yeah, because some ladies, their surgeons are scared, so they'll leave some skin just in case they change their mind. And, ladies get really upset about that. They're like, I told you to make me flat. I want to be flat. So the goal is to have like a smooth, chest, so that we don't have lumps and bumps, and we can just kind of wear whatever we want and feel free about that. So
now, may I ask you, if this is too personal, let me know. Did you have that where you're just completely flat and it's all good? Or
yeah, I was very lucky. My surgeon, the woman who told me about breast implant illness, she had gone flat. So I went to her surgeon, so he knew exactly what I wanted. You know, I was very clear with what my expectations were, and he did a beautiful job. So I'm very lucky that that didn't happen to me, because at that point I had been through 3 surgeries in 7 months, and I would have been really upset if I woke up and I wasn't flat. You know, I just wanted to be done. So I'm very pleased with my results. So I'm glad I didn't. And, you know, I have seen women that maybe had not a completely flat closure, or sometimes women of a larger size might have, you know, a little bit extra. But I've seen beautiful revisions where that can be taken care of as well. So, you know, I think, again, it just comes down to respecting the patient and what their wishes are, and really hearing them and what their expectations are, and listening. And I think it's hard, because if you think of especially plastic surgeons, you know, they have this vision in their mind that they're supposed to make a woman look perfect. There is no perfect. We're all perfect.
That's true.
Exactly how we're made. So I hope that they can see the bigger picture, that there's not any one right way for anyone to look after having breast cancer. I mean, I've seen women with port scars, and I've seen women with mastectomy scars that are straight across, or some that are diagonal, and there's really no right or wrong way to do it. It's just to respect the patient's wishes and honor that, because it's really not a good feeling to wake up from a surgery and feel like heard or listened to, or your feelings weren't validated. And I've been there, because my surgeon that put in my implants, you know, I was naturally a large D, double D breast size, and I'm not, you know, I'm a very petite woman. So I was actually excited to have smaller breasts when I went through my reconstruction. And when I woke up from my surgery, I had 500 cc's. And I literally had the same breasts I just got rid of that I was looking forward to getting smaller.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, she put double the size of what I asked for.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, that is a problem in the plastic surgery world. Even women that have gone in for a breast augmentation or a lift, you know, they tell the surgeon, well, I just want to be a little bit fuller. I don't want to be huge. And they wake up with like double D's, and they don't know what to do with them. It's hard to dress that way. And, you know, that's a really horrible feeling, to wake up from surgery feeling like you weren't respected or valued while you were under anesthesia and couldn't be there to make any choices for yourself. So that, to me, was more mentally damaging than not having breasts. You know, and I think that's a really powerful statement, because I think some people might look at me and be like, wow, you don't have breasts. How are you doing mentally? I'm doing great. I forget I don't have breasts. In fact, I have a really dear advocate friend who wanted to feature me on her website as Warrior of the Month, and she wanted me to tell my story. So I told my story. I typed it all out. I sent it to her. And she emailed me back and said, do you think you can mention something about being flat? And she goes, because I think that's a really cool part of your story. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. I forgot I was flat. So then I felt really stupid, because I'm like, that pretty much is my story. But I don't think about it anymore. I just don't. I just go on with life, and I'm so busy. And, yeah. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. That I just really don't think about it anymore. I just go on with my life, and I use my experience to help others. And, you know, I'm so focused on the advocacy work that I'm doing and meeting with legislators and just kind of getting the word out there that I guess I don't have time to think about it, you know, but it certainly doesn't bother me. And I definitely feel more free and just, you know, able to wear what I want to wear and dress it up or dress it down. I love it. And no more bras. I live in Arizona. It's hot here.
Wow.
So,
good for you. I'm jealous. I'm jealous, because I'm a double D, and yeah, I can't do that. Only if I'm in the house.
Yeah. Yeah. So it is pure bliss to not have to wear a bra ever again. Let me tell you. I guess I'm just one of those people that makes lemonade when I'm dealt lemons, because I just try to find for lining, and no more boob sweat, no more wearing bras, no more worrying about things being in my way when I'm trying to exercise and be active. So Yes,
well,
I'm very happy with my decision.
I kind of can relate to that because, unfortunately, cancer and, all of the hormone therapy threw me into early menopause. And I said, well, the good thing is I haven't had a period in about 6 years. So that was the good thing that I took away from having to go through all that. At least I don't have to have a period anymore. So that was a good thing.
Exactly. So you have to find the positives in your situation, right?
Yes. And now we're out here telling all of our business, but it's all good because that's what we're here to share. That's what we're here for.
Yes. And I hope your listeners appreciate us being candid about it.
Yes.
Because, we have to be real. And I think it's kind of a breath of fresh air when women that are going through this can see people being real about it. The decision that's right for me is not right for every woman, and their decision might not be right for me, but I think we have such a special sisterhood in the breast cancer community to just love and support our breast cancer sisters through whatever their choices are and whatever their trials are. And if I can give any advice, it's, I've had cancer 3 times and I've been through a lot, but I'll tell you what, I definitely am able to find the silver linings in even the worst of my trials that I've been through. And I think that's important because it is really easy to fall into a state of despair and not really see the forest through the trees. But we're fighting for our lives here, and positivity matters. A support group matters to have, a network of women that understand what you're going through. I have received so much support from women who have been through what I've been through, and I like to pay it forward, and I know it'll be appreciated as well.
Great. Robin, thank you so much. Lastly, I just wanted to ask you if someone wanted to contact you or get involved with GPAC, how can they do so?
Sure. Our website is GPAC United, so it's G, P as in Peter, ACUnited.org, or you can reach me at my email, which is gpacunited, Robin Tout, all one word, @gmail.com. And I'm happy to answer any questions. You can look me up on Facebook. All of my posts are public. You can private message me on Facebook Messenger, and I'm just happy to answer any questions that people have, or if they want to get involved and work on legislation in their own state, I'm happy to get them started on that. Or even just, meeting with their doctors or, giving them a list of questions to ask if they're not really sure which direction they want to go. I'm always happy to help, and I would love for your listeners to reach out anytime.
Great. Robin, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. And we just wish you continued success on your advocacy work.
Thank you, Cynthia. I really appreciate you having me on.
And if you have any new legislative developments, please feel free to come back onto the show to discuss that.
I sure will. I will. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You take care.
You too. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye. You have been listening to Boob Talk, and I'm your host, Cynthia Rogers. We want to thank our special guests this evening, Robin Tout, breast cancer survivor and co-founder of GPAC, Global Patient Advocacy Coalition. I want to thank her for sharing her journey with breast implants and sharing with us about breast implant illness and the advocacy work that she's been doing and letting us know about patient safety. Knowledge is power. Always remember, no matter what choice you make, we're all individuals, but always advocate for yourself. Until next time, God bless. You have been listening to Boob Talk with your host, Cynthia Rogers. Follow us on all podcasting platforms and on Facebook at Boob Talk Podcast Group and Instagram at Cynthia L. Rogers, Boob Talk Podcast. Remember, never give up hope.